Someone tells you they're fine. Their mouth says the words, their face says something else. And somehow, without even trying, you believe the face. This happens every day. A friend says, "I'm not mad." A stranger says, "Trust me." A coworker says, "Everything's under control." You hear the sentence, but you're not really listening to the sentence. You're watching the eyes. You're watching the corners of the mouth. You're checking for something the words can't fake. Why? The answer isn't about manners or emotional intelligence or being a good judge of character. It's older than character. It's older than language itself. Long before your ancestors had words for danger, for hunger, for love, they had faces. And reading a face correctly could be the difference between eating tonight and being eaten. Here's the strange part. Your brain still runs on that old system. Right now, in a world of text messages and video calls and carefully worded emails, some ancient wordless part of you is still doing the same job it did on the savannah. Scanning a face, faster than thought, for the truth beneath the sentence. Let's go back to the origin of that system. Not to the invention of language, to the invention of the smile. For most of human history, there was no such thing as a written record of intention. No contracts, no promises on paper. If you wanted to know whether the person across from you meant you harm, you had exactly one source of information: their face, in real time, unfiltered. The psychologist Paul Ekman spent decades studying this. He traveled to remote parts of the world, including isolated communities in Papua New Guinea who had almost no contact with Western media. He showed them photographs of facial expressions: fear, disgust, joy, anger, and again, people who had never seen a movie, never seen a magazine, correctly identified the emotions on strangers' faces from cultures they'd never encountered. That was the clue. Facial expressions of core emotions aren't learned like vocabulary. They're closer to a universal signal, wired in before culture ever gets a chance to shape it. Your face was broadcasting truth long before your mouth learned to negotiate it. But not all smiles are equal. And this is where it gets interesting. Over a century before Ekman, a French neurologist named Guillaume Duchenne was running electrical currents into the facial muscles of his patients, trying to understand exactly which muscles produced which expressions. He noticed something that still carries his name today. A genuine smile doesn't just lift the corners of the mouth, it also pulls at the muscles around the eyes, creating the small creases we now call crow's feet. Here's the catch. Most people cannot voluntarily contract that eye muscle. Try it right now. Smile as wide as you can, purely with your mouth. Now try to add the eye crinkle on command without actually feeling happy. It's almost impossible for most people to fake convincingly. That muscle around the eye is largely involuntary. It fires from real positive emotion, not from social performance. Which means, without knowing any of this consciously, your brain has been trained by evolution to check for it. A mouth-only smile registers, somewhere below conscious thought, as incomplete. Suspicious. Not quite safe. You've felt this 1,000 times. Someone smiles at you and something feels off, even though you can't say why. Chances are their mouth moved, but their eyes didn't follow. Your ancient face-reading system caught the mismatch before your conscious mind even finished the thought. So trust, it turns out, isn't just a feeling. It's a calculation your brain runs before you're even aware you're calculating. This raises a bigger question. If your face is broadcasting the truth so reliably, why do words even need to exist? Why didn't evolution just stop there? Because faces are fast, but they're limited. A face can tell you someone is afraid. It can't tell you what they're afraid of, or where the threat is, or how far away it might be. Language solved a different problem, transmitting complex, specific information across time and distance. But here's the twist. Once language existed, it also gave your ancestors a brand new danger: the ability to lie. An animal's face can't easily lie about basic emotional states, at least not the involuntary parts of it. But a sentence can be constructed to say anything at all, true or false, with no built-in mechanism for honesty. The moment words entered the picture, deception became possible in a way it never had been before. And that's exactly why the face-reading system didn't disappear. It became a check on the words. a built-in lie detector running in parallel to language, cross-referencing what someone says against what their face can't help but reveal. The psychologist Alexander Todorov has spent years studying how quickly people form trust judgments about faces. In his research, participants viewing an unfamiliar face for a fraction of a second, sometimes as brief as 1/10 of a second, were already forming stable impressions of how trustworthy that person seemed. 1/10 of a second. That's faster than you can read this sentence aloud. Long before you've heard a single word from someone, your brain has already started deciding whether to believe them. Think about what that means for a modern life built almost entirely around text. A message, an email, a comment on a screen, all of it strips away the one channel your brain evolved to trust the most. No eye crinkle, no microexpression, no face at all, just words, alone, doing a job they were never fully designed to do by themselves. Is it any wonder that text messages get misread as cold, or sarcastic, or angry, when none of that was intended? You're not misunderstanding the words. You're missing the face that was supposed to accompany them, the face your brain still expects, even now, even in a world of screens. This is also why video calls, for all their flaws, still feel more trustworthy than a phone call, and a phone call feels more trustworthy than a text. Each step adds back a little more of the ancient channel, a little more face, a little more of that old wordless system doing what it was built to do. There's something almost moving about this. In a species that built cities, wrote laws, launched satellites, and invented entire languages just to describe abstract ideas, the single most trusted form of communication is still the same one your earliest ancestors relied on around a fire. Not a sentence, a face. So the next time someone tells you they're fine and something in you quietly disagrees, trust that quiet disagreement a little more than you're used to. It isn't a glitch. It isn't paranoia. It's a system that has been refining itself for hundreds of thousands of years, built for exactly this moment, running silently underneath every conversation you'll ever have. Someone tells you they're fine. Their mouth says the words, but you were never really listening for the words at all. You were listening for the truth your ancestors learned to hear long before anyone learned to speak it.